Hey y'all, it's me. It's your girl. And you already know. Like, share, and subscribe. What's up, real deal? We back with another coverage on day one. Johnathan Quiles accused of killing his 5-month-old pregnant niece. Now, this baby is allegedly supposed to be his, y'all. So the prosecutor, what's going to happen here is going to argue to be allowed to bring up Quelly's history, criminal history, okay? Because they believe testimony from a potential second minor victim could help their murder case, okay, against him. Now, let me tell you what happened now. According to a 2019 arrest report, a girl who is not named in the report was spending the night at Quiles' home to babysit his 3-year-old daughter in December of 2017. And he woke up in the middle of the night and asked better her. See, we're gonna change our we're gonna use the initials, okay? During the hearing 2 weeks ago, prosecutor argued that the testimony from that girl could help in the pursuit of justice for Iyana Sawyer, okay? Her unborn child. Her unborn child's supposed to be his child. Now, the Iyana, we're gonna say Iyana, told her mother about what happened 1 year ago, according to the report. Around the same, okay, the girl, hold up, y'all. The unknown girl, mother, the unknown girl told her mother about what happened 1 year ago, okay? According to the report, around the same time, Ayana Denise Quiles is accused of killing disappear. Now, last summer, Ayana was seen was on December 19, y'all, 2018. This is the last time we seen this young lady. She had traveled to her uncle's job at a Savage Yard on North Main Street after school, according to court records. Now, I wonder why she went out there. Now, the police believe the 16-year-old was shot and killed and placed into a dumpster that was taken to the Otis Road landfill, which you all seen that in the video that I currently created. Okay, uh, Sawyer was 5 months pregnant when her family reported her missing. That's December. Quiles has been in jail for the last 4 years. Now, what the prosecutor is trying to do is get him the death penalty. Okay, Quiles' trial is planned in September. Okay, let's check this out. Okay, y'all. The title of the content is Day One of Johnathan Quiles, accused of killing his 5-month-old pregnant niece. Okay, let's see what's going to be said. Real deal, don't forget to smash that like button. Let's get our lights up, okay? And your reaction over in the box is very important to me.
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead on and skip it a little bit.
Yep.
There go Quiles right there, y'all.
As a Christian mother, I really wanted the flexibility to
Got
work
a little
around my faith
ponytail
and
in the
family
center.
while earning a
Defense, you may inquire. You're ready. Thank you, Your
Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Robert Davis. Myself, along with Christine Michelle, represent Johnathan Quiles in this matter. As stated, the state, Mr. Skinner, Ms. French, they represent the state. These are great people that have a very tough job. But that does not mean that they don't have to meet their burden. Burden is they have to prove that Mr. Quiles is the one that committed this crime. That crime, as you can see, is that of premeditated first-degree murder. They have to prove that Mr. Quiles is the, in fact, person who killed, and I'll say it just once, Iyana Sawyer and her unborn child. They have to prove that. And they also have to prove that he premeditated it and did it in such a way to make sure, as the state said, that this was a heinous crime. I submit to you, as you hear testimony over the next week, week and a half, the state will not be able to meet that burden. You, ladies and gentlemen, are the trier of fact. You are going to be hearing the testimony. You will be determining who's telling the truth. You will be determining who's making assumptions and who is not. Now, next one, Kristen. The state has also proved the issue or the charge of sexual battery. They are saying that Johnathan Quiles did, in fact, have sex with his niece, IS. That's the state's version. That is what they are saying. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that at the end of the day, they will not be able to meet that burden. After you hear all the testimony, they will not be able to prove that Johnathan Quiles is in fact the father of the unborn child. There will be speculation that he is. There will be assumptions that he is. And we believe that the testimony you're going to hear by the family, as the state said, they're going to come in here. This is a big family. They're, for the most part, a fairly tight-knit group. But they will be assuming that based on that July weekend and thereabouts in that short time frame, they will be assuming that Johnathan Quiles is the one that fathered that child. There will be no direct evidence to say that he did. You will not hear it. You will hear from SS, who says she believes that he's the father. You're going to hear from Kimberly Mobley, the mother of IS. She believes that he's the father. But again, there will be no direct evidence. There will be no DNA to say he's the father. There will be no corroboration of that other than they believe he did it. Go ahead. The state must prove that Johnathan Quiles was in fact the person that killed IS. Again, they have to prove this. And they have to prove it in such a manner that it is beyond a reasonable doubt that Johnathan Quiles is the one that did it.
You do your thing, and you do it well. Now, it's time to do it big.
This is a hard one, y'all.
The state is going to bring in detectives, various witnesses, all kinds of people from throughout the county over a very lengthy investigation. The state clearly said it. They don't have a body. We believe that you are going to hear that they're assuming that the scene is Ace Pick-a-Part, where Mr. Quiles worked. You will hear the testimony that, yes, IS left Terry Parker High School and she was last seen around 11 o'clock on December the 18th. They cannot say for certain that she went to Ace Pick-a-Part where Mr. Quiles worked. They're going to show you these videos. You're going to see it. What you're not going to see is IS at Ace Pick-a-Part. What you're not going to see is any blood of a crime scene where he's alleged to have murdered her there. What you're not going to see is an actual killing and the use of a gun to kill IS, as the state has alleged. You're not going to see it. Therefore, we believe they cannot meet their burden of premeditated murder. And therefore, we believe there will be reasonable doubt. But again, Mr. Quiles has entered a plea of not guilty in this case. Mr. Quiles sits there with us at this table, and he is innocent of any and all crimes until they can prove otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe after you hear all of this, they cannot meet that burden. During jury selection, we went over this time and time and time again. Mr. Quiles doesn't have to prove anything. Not one thing. The state, Mr. Skinner and Ms. French are the ones that have to prove it. And the person and the people they have to prove it to is you, ladies and gentlemen. You are the trier of fact. You are the ones that have to be the ones to listen to the evidence and listen to the testimony and view the evidence. And the state has to prove to you that a crime was committed. And we submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, they can't meet that burden. Again, we brought up during jury selection and questioning as to reasonable doubt. And that should be in front of you there on the screen. Reasonable doubt is that is speculative, imaginary, or a forced doubt.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with Fitz products.
Ladies and gentlemen, the state is going to present to you over the next week, week and a half, a voluminous amount of evidence. Please pay attention to all of this. Pay attention to their timeline. We believe that their own timeline isn't going to fit. Why is that? We believe you're going to hear testimony that she was actually seen on the day of and after when the state is alleging she's dead. That is reasonable doubt. They're saying she's dead, and people are saying they see her and are calling into the police to say that they've seen her. As the state has said, this started off as a runaway case. She was deemed a runaway and missing for a substantial period of time, more than a week, during the holidays. It isn't until approximately 3 weeks, close to a month, before they make a determination to go and search the Otis landfill. And we believe the testimony you're going to hear is after 3 weeks of searching, couldn't find the body. You are going to see items from Victoria's Secret that is said to have been found there. You're going to hear testimony that they believe that these items belong to IS. Ladies and gentlemen, these items that are found that are Victoria's Secret are sold in every Victoria's Secret store throughout the United States, if not the world. And we don't believe the state can actually prove that the items that they're going to show you, they believe are IS's, but they cannot prove for a fact that they are IS's. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is reasonable doubt. It's speculative. You're going to hear from law enforcement witnesses. You were asked about all of this during voir dire. The fact that a witness is employed by law enforcement, it's just another witness. He's no better, no worse than anybody else that's going to take this stand. And you, ladies and gentlemen, will determine the truthfulness, the veracity, and the weight of the evidence and the testimony that they are going to be giving to you. They are no better, no worse than any other witness that takes a stand. They're human beings and they make mistakes just like everybody else. Now, this was brought up to you again during voir dire. The fact that if the defendant does not testify, meaning Mr. Quiles, if the defendant exercises his fundamental right to not testify, you cannot view this in any way, shape, or form as an admission of guilt. He has an absolute right to sit there and not say a word. Again, can't emphasize this enough. They have the burden. They must prove he committed a crime. And ladies and gentlemen, you of the jury should not ever be concerned that he doesn't make a statement, or even if he doesn't present any evidence.
Your open argument is weak.
We live in the greatest country in the world, and I say that because in other countries throughout the world, you have to profess your innocence. We here in the United States don't. We don't have to prove anything. The state must prove that he's committed a crime. In other countries, that isn't so. You have to stand up and profess your innocence and say, I didn't do it. You don't have to do that here. They have to prove it. And we submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, again, they cannot meet that burden in this case. You will be able to evaluate the witnesses, the capacity and the opportunity of the witness to observe, whether it's the offender on video or whatever. At the time of the observation, the conditions at the time, whether it was day, night, raining, and the lighting in the distance. This is going to be critical in this.
See.
You are also going to be listening to a wire. Look at and listen to the fact of these people that they're presenting. They're inmates. Those inmates are looking to gain favor by testifying against Mr. Quiles in an effort to get a reduction in whatever case they have going on. And you are going to hear from them when the state calls them. You're going to hear what they have to gain by giving their testimony. Please pay close attention to that, because they have something to gain. The state wants you to use your common sense. Absolutely. Use your common sense. But when you use your common sense, that doesn't mean that you check at the door and say, okay, just because I'm using my common sense, that relieves them of their burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Quiles has committed a crime. Okay. Pay attention to everything in this case. Hold the state to their burden beyond a reasonable doubt. Listen to the testimony. You're going to watch videos, you're going to listen to testimonies, listen to the recordings, and make the state prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Some of the things you're not going to see in this case. The state will not be able to show you the body of IS, or that she's dead and no remains were ever found. You are not going to see an actual crime scene at A's pick-apart, as the state is alleging. She was murdered there. You are going to hear from their testimony, into which they cannot say, after searching A's pick-apart multiple times, you're going to hear that they went there with cadaver dogs. Never found a body. Cadaver dogs gave hits, but remember, this is a place where vehicles are taken after multiple crashes. And people have been hurt in crashes or whatever. But they cannot say IS was actually killed at A's pick-apart. They want you to believe it, but they can't prove it. You are not going to see any blood at the scene that is related to IS. Again, you're not going to see any physical evidence that a murder actually occurred there. And there will be no physical evidence to prove as to the manner of how the state is alleging IS died. None. Again, no actual evidence, no physical evidence of a murder scene. There's no blood. There's going to be lack of DNA. Complete. The state is going to allege that the gun that our client, Mr. Quiles, owned is the murder weapon. But we submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, they have the burden to prove that he actually used that gun to kill her. The state's version of how the alleged murder happened cannot be confirmed in any way. Pay close attention to this. Pay attention to the facts, their timelines, and what they're presenting. The fact that you're going to hear testimony that Mr. Quiles left Ace Pick-a-Part for an hour around the same time that IS is alleged to have left Terry Parker High School and met up with him. Pay attention to the testimony, ladies and gentlemen. We don't believe the state can meet their burden to prove that they met. Because Terry Parker High School is a long way away from where we believe the evidence is going to show that Mr. Quiles went for work.
Need prescription eyewear fast? iBuyDirect
You
ships
just
hundreds
send
of
over
frames
there
with
this.
2-day delivery.
Biting,
iBuyDirect.com.
biting.
Up to an auto parts store near the airport. There's a long way away. And how does IS, a 16-year-old who's on foot when she leaves school, get from Terry Parker High School to the airport? Multiple people see IS again. You're going to hear testimony as to this, that the state assumes she was killed, and they want you to believe that. But these witnesses are going to say she's seen after the time and date that they're alleging she's dead. That, ladies and gentlemen, will lead to reasonable doubt. The state will not be able to prove premeditated murder because they can't prove she's dead in the first place. Focus on the testimony. We believe you're going to hear from Kamar Humphrey and his relationship with IS. And the fact that he is the one that sexually battered her previously during February or March of 2018. We believe that when he takes the stand and testifies, that you're going to hear that he lied about where he was on the date IS went missing. And the police, we believe the testimony you're going to hear is the police failed to properly investigate him as a possible suspect. And they didn't look into it as close as they could have. They're human. They made a mistake. Police never confirmed his alibi. The use of IS's credit card will come into play on the date she goes missing. Because at the time they're saying she is with Johnathan Quiles, her card is being used in a completely different side of town. But the state wants you to believe that Johnathan Quiles has taken her somewhere else. And please, listen to the testimony that you're going to hear as to the area she is seen in on the date she goes missing, as well as where these other people see her after the fact. These will be critical elements, and we believe flaws in the state's case. There's going to be several things in evidence and testimony that you are going to hear that we believe are in question. That of Joseph Quiles. Yes, his own brother is going to come here. He's coming here from New York. You're going to hear from his own brother that these two have a very strained and complicated relationship, to put it mildly. Family dynamics always are. The state, as they said in their opening, says that Joseph Quiles says that Johnathan Quiles made all these statements about confessing to doing these things to IS. We believe that the testimony you're going to hear is
Then a shoe tag.
You guys may have a seat. Members of the jury, welcome back. Hope you had a nice mid-morning break. We'll probably take a same lunch break like we did the past couple of days, depending on the flow of testimony, but I don't plan on being any later than it was the past few days. With that said, State, you may call your first witness.
Kimberly Mobley, Your Honor.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Ms. Mobley, good morning to you, ma'am. Just have a seat. Just watch your step as you come forward. If you need a glass of water or something, let us know. We'll certainly do our best to accommodate you. The only request I would make is that if there is an objection made at some point during your testimony, just let me rule on the objection before you start talking, okay? And you can adjust the microphone as you do necessary.
Can I have a cup of water, please?
Yes, can you get her a glass of water?
Thank you.
Certainly. If you need a moment or anything, just take your time, okay?
Okay.
With that said, Ms. French, you may inquire. You're ready.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Kimberly Mobley.
And ma'am, can you spell your last name?
It's Mobley.
And where do you generally live?
In Arlington.
Is that here in Jacksonville?
It is Jacksonville, Florida.
And how long have you lived in the Jacksonville, Florida area?
38 years.
Would that be your whole life?
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
I'm in the medical field.
And how long have you been practicing in the medical field?
13, almost 14 years.
And ma'am, do you have children?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 4.
And could you please tell me their initials, and if you could just tell the first 2 their date of birth and the second 2 just current ages, please.
Okay. First 2 date of birth is September 6, 2002.
And can you give the initials of that child, ma'am?
Yes. IS.
Thank you, ma'am. I want to make sure that we don't speak at the same time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, ma'am. It's all right. And your second child, ma'am?
SS, September 25th, 2003. And then September 17th, 2005.
And what's the initials of that child?
SG.
And is that a son?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am. And you said you had a 4th child?
Yes. KM, May 11, 2009.
And up until recently, did all of your children live with you?
Yes.
When I say recently, I'm referring to your 3 youngest. Is that a yes? Okay. And is your oldest daughter, your second oldest daughter, SS, has she graduated high school?
Yes.
Now, are your 2 younger children still in school?
Yes.
Now, does IS and SS have the same father?
Yes, they do.
And what is his name, ma'am?
Willie Sawyer.
And could you spell his name, please, for the record?
Yes, it's WILLIE SAWYER.
And are you currently in a relationship with their father?
No.
And how long have you not been in a relationship with IS and SS's father?
Maybe like, I think close to like 16 years, 17.
So the two of you ended your relationship early on after having SS?
Yes.
And does Mr. Willie Sawyer live here in the Duval County area?
Yes, he does.
Now, ma'am, do you have a big family?
Yes.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 4 sisters, a brother.
And could you tell us their names, please?
Yes, my brother is James Mobley. My older sister is Jametta Mobley. Then there's Margiela Mobley, Naomi Mobley, and Paula Mobley.
And could you just please spell Jametta for us?
Yes, it's Jametta.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And do all of your sisters live here in the North Florida area?
Yes.
When you say yeah, you can explain a little bit more if you need to.
Well, yes. One saying Yulee. I'm not sure that could set her.
So would that be Nassau County?
Yes.
Okay, just north of us?
Yes.
Okay. And is that just one of your sisters?
It's Jametta and Margie.
Okay. Does Paula and Naomi live a little bit closer?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your mother's name?
Winella Haynes.
Can you spell her first name, please?
Yes, it's Winella.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, are you close to your sisters?
Yes.
Are you also close with any of their spouses or partners?
I would say yes, we're close.
And would that be obviously the relationship?
Family, yes.
Remember, make sure that we don't talk over each other.
Sorry.
It's okay, ma'am. I know it's hard. Now, back in 2018, was your sister Naomi Mobley married?
Yes.
And who was she married to?
Johnathan Quiles.
And do you recall approximately from today's time frame that you had become acquainted with a Johnathan Quiles?
You asking how many years?
Yes, ma'am.
If it's from today, maybe 10 years. I'm not sure.
But give or take almost a decade.
Yes.
From today's time frame. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And is your sister still married to him today?
No.
Would you recognize this person, Johnathan Quiles, if you saw him again?
Yes.
Would you please take a moment and look about the courtroom to see if you recognize the person you know to be as Johnathan Quiles?
Yes.
And you just nodded your head. Do you see the person that you know to be Johnathan Quiles?
Yes.
Could you please identify that person, where they're located, and 2, something that he is wearing?
Yes. He is sitting by Michelle at a table wearing a blue button-down shirt with his hair in a ponytail.
And is he wearing glasses?
Yes.
And Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
So reflected.
Now, back in 2018, did Naomi Mobley have any children?
Yes.
How many?
One. She had one at a time.
And was that a daughter or a son?
A daughter.
And was she quite young at the time?
Yes.
And were her initials NQ?
Yes.
Since 2018, has Naomi Mobley had another child?
Yes.
And was that a son?
Yes.
And was that son born earlier 2019?
Yes.
And is the defendant the father?
Yes.
Now, I want to draw your attention to your oldest child, IS. Back in 2018, we'll talk about the fall time frame. Was she in school?
Yes.
Where was she attending?
She was attending Terry Parker High School.
What grade was she in?
She was in 10th.
How did she get to school normally?
She would ride the bus.
Now, your other daughter, SS, was she in middle school or high school back in the fall of 2018?
High school,
And what grade was SS in?
9th.
Was IS considered a homebody?
Yes.
And why is that?
She enjoyed being around family.
Where are the places, generally speaking, that IS would frequent?
To my house and my sister's house,
And when you say sister, you've got 4.
Naomi house.
Now, were you working full-time back in 2018?
Yes.
And did Naomi Mobley help you when you were at work?
Yes.
Now, was Naomi Mobley the only one in her household that would help you with your children?
No, she wasn't.
And who else would assist?
Her husband, ex-husband, Johnathan.
Okay, the defendant that you've identified?
Yes.
Okay. And would that include all 4 of your children or a variation of your children?
Sometimes all 4.
Were there occasions where just your 2 daughters would go over to the defendant's home?
Yes.
Now, did the defendant live in Naomi Mobley, your sister? Did they live far from you?
I won't say too far, no.
Did they live at more than one location back in 2018?
I want to say it was just one location at 2018.
And do you remember where that was at?
It was off of 16th Street.
What about did they ever live at a location off of Trout River Road?
Yes.
Was that the second home they had lived in?
Yes, it was.
Now, did IS have a close group of friends?
Yes.
Can you just tell us their names, please?
Some of their names are Alberta, Marie, Haley, Sabria.
Had your daughter IS known them for years?
Yes.
And would that include elementary school?
Elementary. And some, I will say, kindergarten.
Would IS go over to any of her friends' homes?
Not really. She visited Sabria before a few times, but she never stayed the night.
In fact, did IS ever stay the night at any of her friends' homes?
No.
Where are the places that IS would stay the night?
My house and her aunt house, Naomi.
Was IS a good student?
Yes.
In fact, did she have straight A's?
Yes, she did.
And was IS preparing for college?
Yes, she was.
Did IS have a cell phone?
Yes.
And did someone in your family help provide that cell phone to her?
Yes.
And who was that?
I think the cell phone that she had, it was her cell phone services through her grandparents.
Okay, that's just all I'm asking right now. And would that be on your side, ma'am, or her father's side?
Her father's side.
And are their names Nancy and Clifford Ware?
Yes, it is.
Now, ma'am, I'm going to draw your attention right now to the early part of December of 2018. Did you find something out pretty shocking about your daughter, IS?
Yes.
What did you find out? And again, try not to go into statements, just what you learned.
That she was with child.
How did you feel after hearing this? Because how old was your daughter at the time?
16.
Okay.
I was a little upset at first. because I didn't want her to get in the way of college. You know, her dreams got her. She was in between, like, choosing to be a lawyer or a doctor. So I was upset at first, but when I came home from work and first time I felt baby kick, it was out the window. I just wanted to be supportive and be there for her.
Did your focus shift at that point?
Immediately.
Did you set up a OBGYN appointment for her?
Yes.
And specifically, do you remember what date you learned that your daughter IS was pregnant?
December 3rd.
And was the appointment you set up on December the 13th, 2018?
13, yes.
And did you go with IS to that appointment?
Yes, I did.
And was the pregnancy confirmed when you were at that appointment?
Yes.
Jacksonville man accused of raping and
Did you also learn how far along IS was?
Yes.
How far along?
She's about 5 months, 22 weeks.
Now, how did you not know that your daughter was pregnant since she was already 5 months along?
Iyana,
Physical standpoint, I apologize for interrupting.
Iyana, IS, she's tall, she's slim, and then also she wore a lot of hoodies over her.
In fact, was she about 5'8"?
Yes.
But quite thin?
Yes, she's thin.
Was abortion ever an option?
An option?
Abortion.
No, not for me. I didn't. No.
Okay. Was the plan for IS to have the baby?
Yes, she wanted to.
Did you find out the gender of IS's child?
Yes.
And what was it?
Gender was a girl.
And had she been named?
Yes.
And what was that name?
Hazel Michelle Mobley.
And again, not going into many details of statements, did you ask your daughter who was the father of her child?
Yes.
Did you ever learn who was the father of your child from IS?
No, no, she gave me a name.
Was that name Jose?
Yes.
Now, did you do some math regarding that approximate 5 months time frame that your daughter was at?
Yes.
And what, if you're subtracting that 22 and a half, 5 months, what date did you get to?
July.
Now, in July of 2018, how old would have been IS?
15.
And shortly before that July 2018 timeframe, did IS and SS go somewhere that summer?
Yes.
Where did they go?
To their grandparents' house.
Would that be Mr. and Mrs. Ware?
Yes.
And do they live out of state?
Yes, they do.
In fact, do they live in Columbus, Georgia?
Yes.
Do you know when SS and IS came back from Georgia?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because it was my mom's birthday.
And what day is your mom's birthday?
July 7th.
Did you and your family have a birthday party for your mother?
Yes.
And was it actually on her birthday?
Yes, it was.
Was it a weekend?
Yes.
That year? Now, did SS come home with you after the party?
After the party.
I'm talking about SS.
Like to grab clothes from the house?
I'm just asking that. Well, let me rephrase my question. Maybe this will be a little bit easier. First, I'm about SS. Did SS come back to your home and stay at your home?
Oh, no.
What about IS?
No.
And where did IS and SS, if they even stayed at the same place, go to?
Their aunt house, Naomi.
And did they stay the night over there?
Yes, they did.
And just to be clear, that's also where the defendant was living.
Yes.
Now, prior to, and we'll get to, again, why we're ultimately here on the 12/19 date, but prior to that date, ma'am, did you accuse someone of being the father of IS's baby prior to her disappearing from Terry Parker High School?
Prior to it, there were some accusations, yes.
Did you make an accusation?
Yes.
And who was that against?
Johnathan.
And is that because of the math time frame that you calculated?
Yes.
At that time frame, I'm just talking about from the July time frame to the December time frame of 2018. I'm talking about personal knowledge, okay, ma'am? Not what you've heard, but just personal knowledge. Were you aware of any boyfriend-girlfriend relationship that IS was in?
No.
Now, kind of going back, thinking about potential boyfriend-girlfriend situations for IS, going back earlier in 2018, did you also learn something involving your daughter and a neighbor?
Yes.
And was that person Kamar Humphrey?
Yes, it was.
And back in March of 2018, how old was your daughter?
15.
And was the neighbor 20 years old?
Yes,
Did you report that to the police?
I did.
And the next day, did you accompany your daughter to have a sexual assault examination?
I did.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right here, and then I'm gonna come back, y'all, because I'm running out of time. Y'all go ahead on and hit that